Good morning. I'm Chung Gi-ju from Seoul, Korea. I'm going talking about clinical relevance of conjunctival polymorphonuclear neutrophils to ocular GVHD. And GVHD is a hematopoietic stem cell transplantation, and the GVHD is a major non-infectious complication of allogenic BMT. So it is mediated by donor-derived T-cell recognition of the host antigen as a foreign body, and GVHD involves multi-organs: skin, GI tract, liver, lung, oral mucosa, and eyes. There are some mechanisms. So donor T cells recognize recipient cells as a foreign and attacks the epithelial cells in the skin and liver, and as well as eye. And there is two GVHDs, acute and chronic. In acute, there is in phase 1, the activation of host antigen present cell and the macrophages. In phase 2 is donor T cells activated, and in phase 3, effector cells is activated. And in chronic GVHD, there is some different mechanism. There is impaired negative selection of apoptosis in thymus. This is induced and humoral response. So when you check the instance and the risk factors of GVHD, it is relatively very high. And the GVHD instance is 20 to 50% for acute GVHD and 10 to 90% for the chronic GVHD. And there are several risk factors like age and the female and some etc. And in our previous study, we already checked ocular GVH2. So the onset time is 225 days, and the incidence is 1.33% for acute GVHD. In contrast, in chronic GVHD, the incidence of ocular GVHD is 33%. A lot of increase. And there is some risk factors like pre-existing diabetes and the repeated BMT and the number of other organ involvement. So when you check the clinical manifestation of ocular GVHD is affect all parts of the eye, including cornea, conjunctiva, lacrimal gland, and meibomian gland, but rarely involved in the posterior segment. And from 1989, and we tried to classify the ocular GVHD. But at that time, conjunctiva is just involved. But after that time, NIH also tried to classify the ocular GVHD, and they added the dry eye symptoms. But we had the questions, can we evaluate ocular GVHD by just a symptom only? It was our questions. So our previous study, we already checked the relationship between the tear osmolarity and the ocular surface parameters. So when you check the diagnostic sensitivity, specificity, and the cutoff, and at the time we involved Schirmer test, BUT, and the tear osmolarity, and the corneal staining score, and OSDI. And we found and the Schirmer test should be used to detect ocular GVHD. And there is some another groups like German, Australia, Swiss conference, and the international groups also tried to classify the ocular GVHD depending on the corneal staining. So, but our question is, with the timely diagnosis, irreversible damage can be avoided. So we wanted to check it is possible diagnosis of GVHD without the diagnosis of other organ GVHD. So we believe ocular GVHD may be preceded to other organ involvement. So when we checked the characteristic of staining in ocular GVHD, we found a very specific phenomenon. And then when we check the corneal staining, it is very localized to superior and the central part. But in other type of dry eye, most corneal staining is the center or inferior part. But it is very unique and very different. And then we perform the impression cytology from the conjunctiva. So when we take cells from the temporal bulba and the superior bulba, there is no involvement. But especially in upper palpebra, there's a lot of infiltration of neutrophils like this. So other area is no involvement. This is quantitation data here. And this is not only one. And another, when we compare the impression cytology between the severe dry eye and the GVHD dry eye. In severe dry eye, there is no infiltration of neutrophils. But in GVHD, there is many neutrophils infiltration like this, especially in palpebral conjunctiva, not in other conjunctiva. And then we have one case, so we performed the impression cytology before BMT, and no inflammatory cell involvement. But 7 months later, after BMT, there is many inflammatory cells, neutrophils infiltration like this. And we perform the immunofluorescence staining of this impression cytology. So A is B, B is bulbar conjunctiva. There is no inflammatory cells, neutrophils, but in palpebral conjunctiva, we found some polymorphic nucleus, and then this was stained neutrophil specific markers like neutrophil elastase and metalperoxidase green, like this. And then we check the correlationship between the number of palpebral PMN neutrophils and the ocular surface parameters like Sharma, BUT, OSDI, and the conjunctiva and the corneal stainings. And we found that there is a close relationship between the PMN neutrophil infiltration and the cornea and the conjunctiva staining, like this. And there will be some, when we check, when you review the anatomical feature of palpebral conjunctiva, the palpebral conjunctiva consists of 2 or 3 epithelial layers, and then there is a density and a leakish vasculature, so it will be possible. And then this neutrophil infiltration means some enzyme degranulation and the neutrophil extra traps like netosis can induce, and the epithelial cell can be damaged. And we check the impact of PMN infiltration on the topical steroid response. If the PMN is infiltration high and the topical response is very low. Okay, there is maybe our speculation, the deviated T-cell immunity in GVHD, and this can induce the neutrophil activation and active infiltration and the scala. Okay, summary. And in ocular GVHD patient, the superior and the central area of the cornea frequently damaged. And the impression cytology showed the PMN neutrophils are markedly infiltrated in palpebral conjunctiva, especially upper area. And this is very related with ocular surface erosions. And PMN is measured, so higher conjunctival PMN is measured in the patient with topical steroid unresponse in the ocular GVHD. Okay, we suggest impression cytology of a palpebral conjunctiva may be to detect GVHD before other organ involvement. And the PMN, so it is not invasive technique. So with just impression cytology, we can suspect other GVHD in VMT patient. Thank you for attention.